Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are continuing on our Jaclyn Hill Vault Collection series. We are playing with the Bling Boss palette today. It's kind of one look with one kind of epic fail, so make sure you stick around so you can see what I'm talking about. I also do some swatches for you, which I compare the shades from the Bling Boss palette with some shades that I think are comparable or similar in the Jaclyn Hill Morphe original palette. And then at the end I kind of give you my final thoughts and kind of wrap up on the palette. So let's just jump right into it. So guys, this is what the Vault Collection looks like when you receive it. I'll leave a card and I'll also leave the video down below so you can see my first video. I used the Ring the Alarm palette, so what I'm going to do is do 2 looks using each of the palettes from the Morphe Vault Collection so you can really get an in-depth look at all the shades and how they perform. So for today's video, like I said, we are up to the Bling Boss palette, so we just pull the little tab out and we're going to grab out the Bling Boss palette. I'll just turn down my ring light. So this is what the palette looks like when you get it. So it's just obviously the white packaging with the confetti Jaclyn Hill Morphe in the middle. The Bling Boss palette is represented by the kind of purple confetti in here, and it does also say Bling Boss just on the spine as well. Opening it up, this is what the shades look like. We have 10 shades within the palette, and these ones are all kind of on the purpley berry side of the color spectrum. So like I said in my Ring the Alarm review, these palettes are additions to the Jaclyn Hill palette. That's how I'm kind of seeing it as. These are the, if you will, rejects of the first round, the original Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. So these are the ones that didn't make the cut. Each palette isn't necessarily going to be a kind of complete palette where you can create multiple different looks. These are basically grouped together in color stories, this one being the more kind of purple berry color story. So that is kind of my take on these palettes.
So now I'm going to move on to swatches. The first shade we have is Bling Bling. Next up we have Hush Hush. Then we have Gem. Next up is Pizzazz. And then we have Mystic. And because that swatch wasn't very good, I'm just doing another swatch of Mystic. Then we have Sparks. And again, I'm doing another swatch of Sparks because one is just not enough. Then we have Glitz and Glam, followed by Rockstar, and Rockstar we're going to do 2 swatches again. Then we have Ballsy, which is like my favorite shade of the palette, and then last up we have Berry Treasure.
I just swatched Berry Treasure and it has this beautiful like purple reflect to it as well, and initially in the pan it doesn't look like it has that, it just looks like a dark berry with a few like specks of glitters into it, but now it has that beautiful like reflect to it. Woo! That's really pretty. So here are all the shades on my arm here, and I'll just turn down my ring light again and I'll get nice and close. So now I'm going to jump into the Jaclyn Hill palette. We're going to have a look and see if there are any comparable shades in this palette to the Bling Boss palette. Angela Bright, I will leave her channel listed down below if you wanted to check it out. She did the shade comparison between each of the Vault palettes and the Jaclyn Hill original Morphe palette, which I think is a really great idea because these shades are obviously the ones that didn't make it in. So I'm going to see if there's any kind of comparable shades and I'll swatch them next to the swatches that we've got for Bling Boss. Okay, so looking at the Bling Boss palette compared to the Jaclyn Hill, the only shade that I can see that might be similar to Bling Bling is Faint, which I'm going to just swatch here. Similar-ish. I think Faint is definitely more like a lighter kind of champagne-y pink, whereas Bling Bling is definitely more of like a rose goldy kind of pinky shade. Hush, there's nothing really in the original Jaclyn Hill palette. This is a really unique, cool tone kind of stone transition shade. There's nothing in the palette that is really resemblant to that shade, so that's a unique one. Next up we have Gem, and the only one that I can see that might be comparable is Royalty. I'm just going to swatch that here. Royalty is definitely a lot deeper, whereas Gem is a little bit more of that kind of like grape, like a brighter purple. Royalty is just a little bit kind of deeper. Next shade we have is Pizzazz, and I think Cran Apple is the only one that is similar, and I think they're like pretty much the exact same. I think Cran Apple might be just slightly bit more red, but they're very, very similar. For Mystic, the only one that I can see that might be similar is Chip, which I'm going to swatch there. But Mystic is definitely more purple. Chip is definitely more of like a chocolatey brown kind of color. I'm going to swatch Jax right here between Spark. Jax is definitely a bit more red. So the next shade here we have is Glitz and Glam. Now, I think the closest shade that we have to Glitz and Glam is actually SBN. I'm just going to swatch that just here. They're similar, but I think maybe SBN's maybe slightly more bronzy, whereas Glitz and Glam is just that little bit more like taupey, like purpley blush kind of shade, but they're very, very similar. I don't think if I had one on one eye and one on the other, like you'd be able to tell the difference between them. So that's those two. Now Rockstar is a very unique shade. There's nothing in the Jaclyn Hill Morphe original palette that is similar to Rockstar, so that's a unique shade. And then next up we have is Ballsy. Now Ballsy is a very unique shade because it's got that purple color but with that beautiful pinky kind of goldy reflect to it. There's nothing really in the palette that is similar to that one. I might just swatch like Hustle next to it, even though I know they're not very similar, but just for it. Yeah, no, definitely Hustle's definitely a completely different color. It's like a gray bronzy color, but Ballsy is definitely super unique. Nothing like that one in the Jaclyn Hill palette. And then Buried Treasure is very unique. I don't know if you can see in the swatch there, but it's basically a black with some kind of purple reflect glitters through it. I'll swatch Soda Pop next to it so you can just see for an example. Soda Pop has definitely got a little bit more purple to it, whereas Buried Treasure is definitely a bit more black. I'll swatch Abyss as well. So this is the black from the Jaclyn Hill palette. I'll swatch that just here so we can have them all together. So Abyss is definitely more of like a blue black, definitely a lot darker and a richer black than the black out of the Berry Treasure. And as you can see here, Soda Pop, it pulls a little bit more of a purpley kind of color. So these are all the shades here comparing between the Jaclyn Hill Morphe original palette and Bling Boss.
So we're going to move on to the demos, and the first shade that we're going to take is the shade Hush Hush. And I'm taking it on a large fluffy brush and I'm just blending this in throughout my crease and kind of up towards my brow bone. I'm not being too precise, I'm just really blending it in throughout that crease. And then I'm going to take that same shade just on a smaller blending brush and I'm just taking that along my lower lash line. Next up I'm taking the shade Rockstar and I'm just using that same brush that we used to apply Hush Hush to our lower lash line, and I'm just blending the shade Rockstar in throughout my crease and really focusing it on the outer corner. And then I'm just taking that large fluffy brush with a tiny little bit of Hush Hush on it just over the top to blend out the edges to make sure there's no harsh lines. Next we're going to be taking the shade Sparks and I'm just using that on a Zoeva. This is just a shader brush and I'm just really packing that shade really generously all over the kind of mobile lid. So just using short little packing motions till I've got that color down, and then we're going to slightly blend using that brush as well, just feathering the shade up into the crease just so there's not such a harsh line between Rockstar and Sparks. And then I'm just going to apply a tiny little bit more of Rockstar just on that same blending brush we had before, just to blend the two out even further. Next up I'm taking the shade Rockstar and I'm really packing that on the lower lash line. This is just with a flat definer brush just to really help that lower lash line stand out. Next up I'm going to take the shade Sparks and I'm just going to use a small pencil brush to really buff out the shade Rockstar and blend that out so it's just a little bit more smoky. Now as I'm doing this I'm noticing that my eyes are watering like crazy and I'm really trying to pack on the shades to make sure that we can kind of get rid of that eye watering, but it's not really working. Then I'm going to take this Rimmel Exaggerate waterproof eyeliner to help my eyes to stop them from watering. Again, going back in and packing on a little bit more shadow and blending out that plum eyeliner in my waterline to hopefully stop my eyes from watering. Then I attempted to apply lashes and mascara and you'll see what happens next.
Okay guys, I have been gone for a little bit now because I just cannot get my eyes to stop watering. I don't know what is going on with this palette, but my eyes are just like, oh, I cannot get them to stop watering. I'm going to zoom you in. It actually feels like my eyes have got like a film over them at the moment. Like I don't know what is going on. They feel really gritty and irritated, but I'm going to zoom you in so you can have a quick look at what is going on. So this is what is happening. My eye here, like I do suffer from like watery eyes when I'm applying makeup, but like this is like next level. It is just like, I cannot apply any makeup over it. Just like as soon as I go in with any of those dark red shades, my eyes just start watering. It's like collected in here and it's caused the spirit to go all smudgy. And same with this side here, like I do not know, my lashes like will not stick because my eyes just like cannot deal with this palette. It's like, what is that? I don't know. It's really annoying because I've spent all this time on it to try and fix it, but no matter like how much product I put on there to like help pack the shadow on and like hopefully it'll like just last for this video, it like just won't. My lashes just keep coming off. I think I'm just gonna have to call this look like what it is and just try something else. But yeah, this look was an absolute fail. It's really annoying because I was loving how it was looking, but like this is just like, it's just fucked. It's just fucked. Like I cannot get this to work. And of course it's making all the liner like run into my inner corners. Ugh, this is just a hot mess. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll probably end up just taking this off and trying something else. Maybe not as many red tones might help, like red and purple tones might help my eyes. And maybe I'll focus on more like a wearable look, because this is just like, it's just failing. I don't know what's going on. I'm not even gonna try and complete it. It's just my eyes are just like wrecked. So I'm gonna take it all off and we'll try starting again. Okay guys, we are back. I have just taken everything off and then put it all back on again so we can try and give this palette another go. I'm going to stick to something a little bit more wearable, not really anything using super dark colors. I'm going to definitely steer away from that red and purple color for sure. My eye is just, especially this side still feels a bit gritty, but it's not watering anymore. This one here is still watering, so I'm really hesitant to place very many colors on my lower lash line, so we'll see. So I'm gonna give this guy another shot, so let's just jump right into it.
Okay, let's hope this second look turns out a bit better than the first. We're taking Hush Hush again, just on a big fluffy brush and blending that in throughout my crease. Again, like the same look, not being too precise, just really packing that shade in throughout the crease. We're gonna take the shade Mystic on a slightly smaller blending brush, and I'm just gonna use the tiniest little bit just to define the crease a little bit. I don't want to go too heavy with anything because my eyes are just feeling a bit raw. Blending that out using that same big fluffy brush and a little bit more of Hush Hush just to make sure there are no harsh lines. I'm going to take the Too Faced glitter glue and I'm just going to place that all over the mobile lid just to give our lid shade a little bit of something to stick to. We're taking the shade Ballsy and I'm just using that on my finger and packing that all over the lid. And then because I wanted to use a few more shades within the palette, I'm taking the shade Pizzazz and I'm going to use a flat shader brush to pack that on the kind of outer corner of the eyes to add a little bit more red definition to this look. We're going in with a little bit of Mystic and the tiniest little bit of Sparks because I really don't want to jinx myself and make my eyes start watering even more than they've already started to at this point. And then blending out the corners to make sure there are no harsh lines. And again, my eyes are already starting to water. I'm going to run that combination again just under the lower lash line for a tiny little bit of definition. I'm taking this nude eyeliner from Rimmel and I'm placing that all along the lower waterline, and then as you can see my eye has started to water again with those shades on that lower lash line. I swear I can't win today guys. And then we're going to move on to lashes and mascara. I'm using the Lashes Desire from Socialize today and my favorite mascaras. I'm taking the shade Nymphea from Sigma and just applying a little bit of blush to my cheeks to add a little bit more color to my face, and I'm going to spray my face with a little bit of MAC Fix Plus just to make sure any powders have kind of settled down on my face, and so my highlighter is a little bit more strong when I apply it. I'm taking the shade Forever Young from the Anastasia Beverly Hills Nicole Guerrero Glow Kit and I'm just going to apply that to my cheekbones. Then I'm going to take the shade Bling Bling and I'm just going to place that in the inner corners and also on my brow bones as my highlight today. Next up we're moving on to lip. I'm just using this shade from Maybelline to apply all over my lips. Then I feel like my face just needs a little bit of warming up, so I'm taking the shade Luminous Bronze Light from Hourglass in the bronzer and I'm just using a big fluffy brush just to give myself a little bit of color and warm up the complexion. One last dab of the eye because it's still watering like crazy. But guys, this is the finished look and I hope you enjoyed it.
So, wrapping up, my final thoughts on this palette. Look, I don't know whether it's the palette or whether my eyes are just playing up today, but my eyes are definitely starting to water again at the moment. I don't know if I'm really feeling it just because of the kind of reaction that I've had to it. The shades in here are absolutely stunning. I didn't have really any issues blending them out at all, which is amazing, especially because purples are notoriously really hard to blend out and formulate. So I haven't had any issues with these ones, which I'm so glad about. I think that Ballsy and Pizzazz are really, really, really beautiful shades. And I loved how they performed on the lid, especially Ballsy, because I just think that that is such a unique, beautiful shade. I'm in love with it. I definitely will be using this in the future. Bling Bling is another beautiful shade, which I think will be great to apply just like all over the lid for a beautiful kind of purple toned shimmer champagne-y color on the lid. I think it's stunning. I really do enjoy Hush Hush for a really kind of stone colored transition shade. I think it's beautiful and I love how it performed on the lid. It's so easy to blend out and there's barely any fallout whatsoever with that shade, so that's great. I am feeling a little bit hesitant and wary with Sparks and Rockstar. I just don't know if they were causing my eyes to water as much as they did, but the actual application of them I found to be alright. It was only kind of the watering of my eyes which kind of caused the issue. So all up, I think there are some really beautiful shades in here. I think they applied and blended out really well. The shimmers are beautiful, especially Ballsy. I like just cannot get enough of that shade. So guys, that is my final thoughts on the palette. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't already so you don't miss out on any of my other reviews on the Jaclyn Hill Vault collection. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week, and I'll see you all in my next video. Mwah! Bye guys.